This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gold.
Welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. It is I, Old Gingerface, with you once again. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for finding the show. In the show, if you're new here, you will hear the men and women of law enforcement tell you their craziest stories as they live them, totally unedited. I do see a lot of people are binge listening. I hope you do that because stories are wild, man. I get to do this once a week at least, meet up with these people and just hear unbelievable stories, and long careers, which are just unbelievable. I mean, can I say unbelievable one more time? I've always been a small town copper, so I would never bag on that job. And you do get calls that are oh shit calls, but you do get some space, recovery time in between. There's a lot of downtime. These guys who come on just seem like they're always into something. And it's just amazing, man. I'm just so thankful they're out there doing this, that they're willing to do it. Impacts their family and their whole lives. So thank you for being here to hear it. I love you guys. If you really love the show and you've listened to a bunch of episodes, there's 4 free a month, and you want to show me monetarily, I appreciate that. You can go to the Patreon link, which is in the show notes. There's a few different levels on there you can pick and support that way. I'm a little bit sore today. We got a 15-yard dumpster in the yard. Have you guys ever done that? We are cleaning out our house. Finally, my wife was wanting one for like 6 months. She said, we should get a dumpster. The only problem is dumpsters are like, we got one maybe 15 years ago and it was like $200. And this one was $500 to have a dumpster for 10 days. But man, it does. She was right. It is very cathartic. Just not having to like bring it to the dump and put it in a separate bin, just to have a giant, like essentially black hole in your yard you can just throw garbage into is fantastic. Highly recommend that. All right, that's my tip for this week. Guys, today's episode is going to be a great one. I'm really, really excited to have him on. He's done a lot in his career, both on the local, city, and federal side. 14 years local law enforcement, 21 years ATF, commanded 2 of the largest ATF Task Force Groups, Group 4 Joint Firearms Task Force in NYC and Kansas City, Group 5 Gun Squad, 3.5 years on STF Special Response Team, member of the NYPD Honor Legion, Gold Valor Medal, Hostile Action Award, current owner of SENDit Woodworking, which we'll hear about. Without further ado, let me bring on the great Eric Immesberger. Nailed it?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Steve.
Yeah, man.
Good morning.
Good to have you, brother. Man, we've been through it, me and Eric. He got recommended to the show by Brent Cartwright, who was a great guest. People loved that episode, and Eric is kind of newer to like, you're not like one of these guys hitting the podcast circuit quite yet. So you were like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. And Brent's like, you got to have this guy on. He's got the greatest wild stories. He's really interesting. So Brent loans you his studio, but then has to leave to go on a trip. And poor Eric is like this guy that's just getting into this. And we had all kinds of audio issues. It was trying.
It was, I went, never again. I hate borrowing people's tools. I hated borrowing somebody's pen off their desk. So I went all in. I went with Steve's recommendations. He said, pop, 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 get this, that. I did it. And my wife's like, oh, great. Another direction for you now. But it works.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You sound great. And I liked what you said, too, before the show started. We were talking about that. And you were like, yeah, it kind of reminded me of my first arrest at NYPD where they just go ahead and take care of it. You're on your own.
Yeah, that was awesome. Hey, we're making a bunch of arrests today. Here's your collar. Here's your guy. You got to go to central booking. You got to sit down with the prosecutor. You got to do this, do that. And I'm like, okay. Is somebody going, just give me the 3-minute brief? No, you figure it out. So I did.
That's awesome, man.
Those were the golden days, the good old days.
Yeah. We reminisce about that on the podcast a lot with guys that started kind of out of this modern era of policing where there was no, 12-week field training program with a trainer who's got all these check boxes he's checking and all that. It was like And actually, New York held on to that for a long time, because when I was doing the obstacle course for like before the stand, I forget what it is. We'd get into police academy, you have to do this obstacle course for Massachusetts, and I was in line with an NYPD kid. We were both like in our mid-20s. He'd been down there a couple of years and moved up to Mass, and he said it was like he and another kid they graduated academy and they got put on the foot patrol in a neighborhood, and they had they had their pen, notebook, and they had a gas mask they made them carry because 9/11 had just happened. And he said, I just walked around the neighborhood and took like handwritten reports. And I go back to the precinct and I'm like, oh, what do I do with these? And like, well, you got to, type them up. And it was just funny. That wasn't that long ago,
Law enforcement prepared me well for the career after doing the woodworking. Woodworking is procedural based. Procedures for safety. You don't want to get hurt. How do you do this finish, that finish? Once you've got the procedures down, the procedures of stuff you're going to do all the time, then you don't even have to think about it. I've talked to fighter pilots. They're like, flying a plane? We don't even think about flying a plane. We're doing every other activity in the cockpit. Don't even think about flying it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember balking at when in my first police job, we had a new chief come in, and he was really all about the SOPs, getting them squared away, and everybody's kind of rolling their eyes about it. But then one day I had a missing kid, and I really didn't know what to do, but we had an SOP on it. I looked it up, and it laid it out, the procedure for it. And you know how it is in police work. Once you do something you've never done, you pretty much never forget how to do it.
Yep.
Because it's just, there's stress involved. You want to make sure you do everything right, especially with a kid. And then I just knew it, and I was like, maybe having procedures that you can read isn't so bad.
Nope. Good officers, good agents. You become an expert at becoming an expert. You have to figure that out.
Right. So, Eric, you started, was it local PD to NYPD to ATF? Is that the track?
So started out in uniform, small police department just north of New York City. I was going to college at night. I was losing my mind. I don't think I slept for a few years because I remember 9th grade career day. A cop came in. I had never thought about law enforcement. And at the end of that 45-minute chat, destiny had been written in the stone. I was going to do this. And I went up to him after. I said, tell me what I need to do. You tell me how I need to prepare. He goes, well, you got to go to college, no matter the cost. You got to go to college. Doesn't matter what you study. Doesn't matter where you go. But you got to have that 4-year degree. This is like back in the 70s. Guys telling me this. He goes, take every math class you possibly can. Teaches you how to think logically. Take every English class. The written word on your reports. The pen puts people in jail. And cops you work with will know your reputation because they work with you. People that don't know you, your only reputation is on your written work, your reports, your affidavits, your written work product.
Yeah.
So he goes, that's got to be tight. So I took every math class my high school offered. I took math electives in college. I was like, this guy had given me the Holy Grail. Do this. So I remember being in the police academy in the day, going to college at night. John Jay College in New York, where I graduated from, a professor that taught a math class at 10 in the morning, he taught the same class at 7 o'clock at night. So you work nights, you go to day, back and forth. So doing the ride to New York City, John Jay College, 4 days a week in the academy, then in the bag. It was, I made a decision that if I don't finish this degree, I'm not going to finish it. I took a year off. I took like 2 23 credit semesters, got the degree, and I had interned in the New York City Department of Investigation in Manhattan. And like the day I got the degree, they said, you want a job, it's waiting for you. So I wound up working there for 4 years, basically the internal affairs, if you will, sort of like a mini FBI, but under New York City government. And that was the breeding ground for federal agencies to recruit from, the police department,
Was it a sworn position, Eric?
It
Did you have to go to academy for it?
Yeah, there was. Well, having been through the academy, having already been a police officer,
that's right. Sorry.
It was an easy hire for them. I was in a position that was not sworn by choice because there were more possibilities of what you could do. And I knew I wasn't going to, I was there to get experience for the next position. So I had started staking my claim. I wanted to go become a detective in the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office. I had worked with them, super professional. These were like the titans of industry. They were doing unbelievable great cases. And I did a bunch of undercover, real quick hitter stuff in Department of Investigation, posing as a corrupt city lawyer, a corrupt inspector, basically to find out, what was going on with all of that. District Attorney's Office, because I got a lot of FaceTime with them with these cases. They're like, would you, consider applying over here? And I'm like, yeah, in a second. So after 4 years in Department of Investigation, onto the DA's office. And it was a cast of thousands that was trying to get that job. And it was literally, in a large part, who do you know? Every job, who do you know?
Right.
Well, I happen to know some of the detectives and the bosses from cases that I had brought over there. And, it just worked out. You still had to perform, stand up and perform in the panel interview and all of that. And they gave me the job. I never looked back. The Brooklyn District Attorney. And so it was about 120 detectives in that office. It was about the largest prosecutor's office. I don't know if Chicago was bigger, but for the East Coast, Brooklyn was where it was at. I think we had almost 500 assistant district attorneys, about 20 NYPD detectives assigned just to that office, and we worked with them every day. 24 hours, 7 days a week, arraignments, central booking. Everything was 20. It was like if you needed to get a steak in Manhattan, you get a steak at 3 a.m. if you really want one.
I've done it.
And if I really need a search warrant at 3 a.m. and not wait till 10 a.m, you could do that in Brooklyn. The process is much more streamlined now as far as making an arrest, from what I hear. But when you made an arrest in Brooklyn late, 89 to 98 when I worked there, you made an arrest, you were going to be working for like the next 20 hours. You had to bring them back, process at your office. Then you brought them to central book and you lodge a prisoner after you've getting him medically checked. Then you got to go like you're buying a cake at the bakery, take a number at the early case assessment bureau. You're going to sit down with a prosecutor. They're going to draw up the complaint. What do you got? This is what we're going to charge. Seeing arraignments in like 5 or 6 hours. So then you go there.
Wow. You guys followed all the way through?
All the way through. Now, to try to cut down on overtime, they would want the processing to be handed off to somebody else that had just come on. But typically the arrests we were making, they were complex, complicated, multi-defendant conspiracy cases. So, you were in it to win it. You were gonna take the 20-hour drive with overtime. And then I lived in the office. I might as well have had a cot next to my desk. And I loved it, every second of it. I couldn't wait to get to work every day. And learning at the feet of masters, old school homicide detectives from NYPD, Brooklyn North, the 7.5, the 8.3. Like, literally, I would go, these guys were in the office all the time. And I would say, listen, can I just watch? Can I just listen? I just want to listen to you, when you got a guy in the box. And they were like, hey, yeah, go ahead, go in the next room, you can listen. And I literally watched. I learned at the feet of masters of the craft. When I had gotten to the Special Investigations Unit, the two guys that were running that happened to have been two polygraph guys. And between the two of them, they probably took more homicide confessions than any detective in Brooklyn. And being that we were not NYPD, you're not the big dog on a block, to get the respect of real masters in the NYPD where they were like, hey, good job. You guys
So you were working.
nailed it.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you were working for directly for the DA's office, so you weren't NYPD at this point?
Correct.
Oh, interesting.
And it's one of these, if you didn't know about the job, you literally wouldn't know about it. And, you know, to have 120 detectives working just in the group, your peers, I mean, 120, that's probably bigger than the majority of police departments in America. I think the average
it's
police
like 10
department,
guys.
you dial out, you know, the big 5 cities, it's 20 to 30 is your average police department in the United States. So it was a grand scale. And the detectives in that I was a part of, again, a breeding ground for federal agencies to hire as special agents. And just about everybody that left that job, the FBI, DEA, ATF, Secret Service, it was, and whenever you would run across guys like, hey, where did you start? Oh, I was a detective in a prosecutor's office. Oh, me too.
That's
and
interesting.
Small enough where we all knew each other, and it was great. But all of that local time really prepared for the ATF experience. So ATF, when I got on in 98, so I had 14 years between all of that experience. When you came into ATF, I came in 98, and it was almost like a crime family. They opened the books to hiring. It was like a 100-mile-an-hour treadmill from day one. Being that I had already been a cop, which was 99% of the people that were hired, and I believe, with exception, the best federal agents were cops first. It's like you just can't replicate that experience. You can't. And there's no, once you become a federal agent in a, go task force or group, there's not a lot of time to sit. There's no time to sit back and like, hey, I got to figure out how do I do basic stuff. There's no time for that. You're expected to know all of this basic, how to talk to people, how to get a rapport, how to talk to any stratosphere of society. You just have to know it. So getting into ATF literally prepared me for my first day in ATF. I showed up, I got introduced to my training agent, who is now my son's father-in-law. Crazy.
Yeah.
And great guy, another stellar agent. But on day one, I met him. He brought me to the federal courthouse. I got sworn in. We went right to the range, qualified, got my SIG 9mm, got a car, a G-Ride. And I remember having a lunch with the group. Hey, I'm the new guy. And that night, with my training agent, we're in a strip club, working a CI. And yeah, I was like, I went from swearing in to being in a strip club, putting a deal together. And it was probably 3 months before I even got sent to the ATF Academy. I was running around ATFing, having never been to their academy.
Wow.
Crazy. It is not that way anymore. Now you get hired. You may start a week before the academy, but when you go to the academy, you don't get your credentials until you do the stage walk 6 months later.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, local
guys,
city police used to do that too. They'd hire you, put you on the road, and then go like, you're going to go to academy the next year. Don't worry. That type of thing.
It was, so my academy class and the one, I think I was in the second one in the big hiring wave, and everybody had been a cop or a federal agent somewhere. It was a salty group, and our average age was probably late 20s. I mean, I was considered the old guy. I was 35 in the ATF Academy, and you had to be hired by your 37th birthday. So nobody was in the mood for new guy stuff, getting yelled at, screamed at, more. So I will say this about the ATF Academy. It was stressful, and all the stress was self-imposed because they met you day one, you get your class supervisor shows up and he says, hey, it's a gentleman's academy. There's going to be no yelling. There's going to be no screaming. We'll call you Mr. So-and-so. There's a maid that comes in and makes your bed every morning because you're not going to have time. And we were going, I think the first class started at 7, and they were trying to pack so much material in. We never got out of class until probably 12 hours later. And there were a group of us that would PT every morning. Like gym, there was 7 weeks of our PT time that was cut out of the curriculum because, hey, dude, PT on your own time. We don't have time to do that. We're trying to expose you to everything. Some of the academic tests, you had to study for these tests. Stuff that a cop, you're not dealing with the federal explosive laws, stuff like that. You literally had to learn it. And you did, so the 3 main areas, you didn't want to ride the razor on academics, the PT standards, or the shooting standards. And either one of those could easily get you thrown out. They wanted the standard, I believe, on tests were 80. If you got below an 80 on a written exam, they allowed you to retake it. Get below an 80 again, put your stuff in a shopping cart, you're gone.
Oof.
Same thing with firearms quals and the PT standard. So it was not the hardest experience at all.
But it was difficult.
You had to want to be there. You had to want to be there bad to go through everything. It was, thankfully we did work some Saturdays, but the weekends were awesome because you had to do your own laundry. You had to, everything that you need a tire on your car. It's like everything would get done on the weekends. Yeah. And they ran out of room at the academy. They put my class in a Holiday Inn, like 2 exits north of the academy off of 95. And that was like another whole land of adventure.
Yeah.
We were glad to not be on base, and it was nice having a room to yourself and your own bathroom.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, man, what a journey. That's crazy.
It was a blast. And the federal agencies, and I, of course, can only speak for ATF, but the professional development, pro dev, whatever you want to call it, constant training. The one thing I feel we really got short shrifted on, again, this is like 98 versus now, ground fighting. Now, I had been on our SRT team for a few years, which was ATF's version of SWAT, and we got a lot of that. We would start a lot of training days just with guys in the fist suit and, close quarters countermeasures, 2 hours every morning. So that was good if you were on the SRT, but the average agent, if you didn't invest your time in really learning how to control somebody, and it never looks pretty. Every police officer, it never looks pretty when you're trying to arrest somebody that doesn't want to be arrested.
Right.
At the least, it's a little wrestling match. At the worst, it's a real wrestling match. As I would encourage everybody, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, I've heard on the news that Bongino, Deputy Director at FBI, big BJJ guy, he wants to step up that within the FBI, especially with their new hires. I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Especially in you get to go to police academy, become a cop, and they train you in jiu-jitsu. I mean, because you know how it is at Academy when they train you with the defensive tactics. The guys are always like, stage your cuffs, approach, tell them to turn around. And the defensive tactic guys are always doing the hand thing. And, you get small stuff from that. But then when you go to your first arrest or whatever, and you realize like there's just, like for me, it was either like a couple, 3 people just strong arming somebody. There was no like tactical approach. There was no loading the handcuffs, and it was just like the 25-year vet just doing what he had to do to get the guy
all
in the
of
cuffs.
that. All of it comes down to you're by yourself or you're with one other guy or gal, and you got a guy that says, I'm not going to go to jail today. Now in New York City, the overriding tactic in New York City was the tactic of overwhelming numbers.
Pig pile.
So if I got onto the radio, I didn't even have to say there was a problem. All I had to do was just yell a location, 3rd Ave and 22nd Street. You say it once or twice. You don't have to say any more. There's 50 people going to kill each other to get to that X.
Right.
There was a short little transit guy, Ricky, that I worked with. This dude, he was a former Marine. I mean, this dude was capable. He was very strong, but he was like 5'3". And he told me, I was in uniform and 2 guys tried to rob me. They said, give me the gun. He's like, what? Give me the gun. He's by himself in the hole, as we call transit. And he's like, no. By the way, get on the ground. Oh, you're not going to get on the ground. I guess we're going to dance. He screamed his location into the radio, and he said, Eric, all I knew is I had to contain them. Just hold on to him. Hold on to one guy. And when I heard the jangling keys of 50 guys running down the stairs to get to me, then it was on. And that was the worst decision of their life, that they were going to try to rob a uniformed police officer. This is back in the 80s.
The bad old days, the 80s in New York City.
The mahogany shampoo, the Bronx party hat, all of that. Those days are over.
Eric,
probably for good.
Yeah. Hopefully. Can you take us way back in your career to the first hot call you had, the first call that really gave you an adrenaline dump?
So my uniform days, it was a well-to-do area, a lot of car accidents, a lot of DWIs, a lot of family disputes, robbery in progress, crime in progress, shots fired. Didn't see a lot of that just where I was and, working day tours. However, I would almost take you back. So here's a phrase a guy told me: your last day, hey, big guy, your last day is just as damn dangerous as your first day. So I thought about what I was going to tell you to that question. So I'll take you to 2 months before I retired from ATF. So I was running the gun squad. When I had it, it was the largest enforcement group in ATF by purpose. 7th most violent city in America, St. Louis, number 1, just by the numbers, per capita numbers. And I never wanted to bother my guys with, nonsense, low-level nonsense. They were up to their eyeballs 7 days a week in the worst of the worst of the worst people. Like, if there's 100 bad guys we could go after, who's the 3, 4, 5 worst of that? That's who we're going to go after. The people that, when you take them off the street, the shooting numbers go down in that area. You've made a difference by taking them off the street, rather than we're going to shotgun approach and try to grab everybody for everything. We're going to go after the worst of the worst. So a lot of administrative stuff I would try to take care of for my guys. I didn't want them to be distracted. So one of the crazy administrative jobs, every ATF group in the country has them, is anybody that goes into a gun store, buy a firearm in the United States, you have to fill out ATF 4473, and it asks you all the prohibitor questions. Are you under indictment? Are you a convicted felon? All of those questions. That would be no-go. The dealer is then going to take your ID, and he's going to run the National Instant Background Check over the phone through the FBI. They administer that program. And you're either proceed, nothing came up, or you're a delayed denial. We're not saying you can't buy the gun, but you can't buy the gun now because we got to dig into the weeds for whatever this issue is that you have. So I would get probably 10 or 15 of those delayed denials a week. A lot of them dealt with somebody that was under indictment. If you're under indictment, you can still have a gun. You just can't acquire another gun. Or you were convicted of a crime related to domestic violence, or those kind of in the weeds prohibitors.
Right.
So I get the prohibitors, and they would say, okay, we've done our investigation. He is in fact prohibited. Oh, and if there's no decision made within 72 hours of your background check, the dealer can transfer the firearm to you. So you get all these transferred firearms, and now they say, oh, well, the guy is prohibited. Go get the gun.
Ugh.
The vast majority of these guys, they're not what we would call real, arch criminal bad guys. They're not. They're just not.
They just give the gun back.
I would call them on the phone. I would say, hey, stupid, do you remember buying this gun? Oh, you still have it? Good. Bring it back to the gun store, because here's why you can't have it. When you bring it back, they're going to call me, verify that they brought it back. I'm going to close the matter out. And they're like, oh, he's not going to give me all my money. I'm like, hey, Chuckles, if I come to get the gun, you get nothing. You get zero, because I'm going to seize it. Or work out a deal with the FFL, the gun store, and it leaves a good taste in everybody's mouth. It's like, yeah, ATF, they could have dropped a hammer on me, but they gave me a chance to bring the gun back.
It's pretty fair, I'd say.
I would get that phone call within 2 hours. Hey, so-and-so store, the serial number, the guy brought it back. He's good. Okay. Closed. But every now and again, you would get the one package. You'd be like, this guy needs to be interviewed, and we need to get the gun back, and we're going to seize it. We're not, not past go. He's not
getting a sweetheart deal.
Yeah. So ATF Intel, they're the ones that do the workups on these. I get their work product. I'd rather have the IRS after me than these ATF Intel people. They give me a telephone book, like everything that this, I don't need to know that he's registered to vote in Arkansas. Where does he live? That's all I need to know.
Right.
So I'm looking at this one guy's package, and they printed out all his Facebook stuff, and he doesn't purport to be in an outlaw motorcycle gang, but he's got the starter kit. He's got the whole dress up like it's Halloween. I remember he had a skull tattooed on his hand, so he could go like this, and then it's a picture of his skull on his hand. Neck tattoos, yep. Not that they're bad, but you're probably not going to get a job at Solomon Brothers with neck tattoos.
Right.
And he is legitimately prohibited from having the gun. But it's not like a multi-convicted. It's like one of these, is he going to get federal prosecution? No. So I actually give that to one of my guys. I'm like, you know what? Just grab somebody. Let's interview this guy. Oh, and every Facebook picture, he also had a gun in his hand. Different guns. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to interview this guy.
Yeah.
So I was a big proponent. Every day, if possible, we're going to eat together. We're going to have a lunch together, unless we got a deal going or somebody's on us. But basically, the majority, if we had an hour, we're going to have lunch together, which was basically like a meeting. Hey, here's what we got going on tonight. I just got a call on this. I just got a call on that. And I thought I thought it was awesome. It was better than being in the office. And, the esprit de corps, and, everybody knows what's going on. We're having lunch that day at a Firehouse Sub in Independence, Missouri, which is like ground zero for methamphetamine. Like literally all the big cooks, Independence, Missouri, like going back to the 70s, that it was like every other house, every other hotel room, every other RV on the road was a meth cook. So from all of that in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, fast forward to, just 7 years ago, the wreckage of that. Independence is a tough town. Great police department. But it seems like every crazy violent thing almost has been in Independence. So we're having lunch at the Firehouse, and one of my guys, Charlie, goes, hey, I'm going to go knock out that interview. I'm going to grab somebody. And I just look at him. I hesitate for a second. I'm like, we're all going to go. I don't know why I said that, because we would never really do that unless, they had come to me and say, hey, I'd like to have, maybe a boatload of people on this one for whatever. I just looked at him and everybody, and I said, we're all going to interview this guy. So I said, look, everybody kind of gets it up. He lived in a cul-de-sac. I had broken my iPhone charger, and it was a Verizon store like in that parking lot. So I said, I'm going to go buy a charging cord. I'll meet you guys. I'll be 5-10 minutes behind you. Good to go. The sergeant, my task force guys, all my agents, everybody is kind of loosely set up in the area. Call them on the radio. I'm like, I'm on the way. I'll be there in a few minutes. I get to the stop sign of this cul-de-sac. Blue skies, beautiful day, right before Thanksgiving. So this is like 60 days before I retire. And we had just gotten the Glock 9mm. We had gone from Glock 40 to Glock 9. And they're like, oh, it's a much better round. And I'm like, why can't we make the 40 a much better round? It's like, anyway, so we had just gotten these Glock 9s. And my G-Ride was a 4-door, 8-foot bed, Silverado 2500. And being that we had the not new tactic, but new for a few years, it's not a car accident, it's a vehicle pin. Like we could actually run into a stationary car, pin them in. They're not leaving. They're not going anywhere, and make the arrest. So I had found a place in Kansas that made like a damn near army tank, a front bumper like that. Like you could hit somebody at 40 miles an hour. You're not even gonna damage your radiator. I'm like, I'll take that. So I had that on my truck. So I'm parked at the stop sign, and I look in the rear view mirror. I see the neck tattoos, and I'm like, hey, our guy is right behind me at the stop sign. I'm just gonna tell him, go in your driveway, I just got to talk to you for a few minutes, no big deal. As soon as I get out of the truck, with all the ATF stuff on, he doesn't try to hit me or run me over, but he drives around me at as fast as he can accelerate the motorcycle. And he's got a Harley, and it's got the 2 hard side bags. It's a beautiful bike. It was the most beautiful thing in his life. And I'm like, and he's headed towards his residence, except now all my guys come out of the woodwork, and he's like, oh, where did all this come from? He drives onto a lawn, up a hill. One of my guys is right there. He drives back to the sidewalk, dumps his bike, and I see, like in slow motion, it was like a cartoon, like what looked to me a submachine gun with an extended magazine in slow motion flying through the air onto the street. And I'm like, okay. And he's got his full motorcycle set up on. For whatever reason now, he wants to run back to the fort, to his house. But he's got to run across the lawn that I'm driving on with lights and my truck was like a UFO. Like, you knew it was a law enforcement vehicle.
Yeah.
And everybody else's lights were on. As I'm about 15 feet behind him and he's running, he looks back at me and both his hands go right into his waistband. And I'm like, surely he's not going to try to shoot me. And then I took a half a second. Is this 9 going to go through my windshield? I said, you got to make that whole OODA loop, you got to make a split-second decision. Well, my split-second decision was, I'm going to give this guy the chance that he doesn't deserve. I slammed the truck into park. It's, still trying to get into the gear because I'm still driving. I jump out. He turns around with that bug-eye look, and he's still got his hand, and I can see his right hand trying to yank out of his waistband. And I'm like, okay, I would have been good to go to shoot him all day long.
Yeah.
I was within feet. I gave him I put my arms around where his hands were, and I held on like I was not letting go. And all my guys are running over. So now I don't whisper, I'm yelling at this guy. I'm like, don't move. Do you have a gun in your hand? He goes, yes. I'm like, don't move. And I'm like, he's got a gun in his hand, but I'm holding it. So let's get that taken care of first. I said, dude, just open your hand. Open your hand, let go of the gun. He does. I can feel his hand open up, and we get him cuffed. And sure enough, he's got a fully loaded handgun. Get him cuffed up. And I said, hey, what were you going to do? He goes, oh, I was absolutely going to try to shoot you. He's like, I didn't know who you were. I'm like, did the red lights and the vest and my 15 guys, were you confused?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't come off that. He goes, yeah. He goes, I didn't know who you were. I was going to shoot you. I was like, wow.
That's his defense.
I'm like 2 months before retire. I mean, I've been in shootings, and it's like I'm about to retire, and this.
Yeah. It's like Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. You start to understand. I was always the youngest guy in every squad I was in Brooklyn, and then all of a sudden now I'm the oldest guy. I'm the senior supervisor in the field division. I'm like, what happened? How did I become like the old guy?
ProForce Law Enforcement, the best damn cop shop in the nation, whether you're purchasing for an entire agency or you're an individual officer looking to buy firearms or duty gear. These guys are the best in the biz. ProForce has law enforcement exclusive pricing and is the place to be buying your guns and duty gear. They carry all the top industry brands, and the guys and gals that work there understand exactly what law enforcement officers need. Special discount link, tps.proforceonline.com. It's deeply discounted items just for the listeners of this show, or you can go to proforceonline.com and shop the whole place. Place is unbelievable. You can also visit Prescott, Arizona in person, or Brea, California in person to get hands-on with the gear. All the contact stuff is in the show notes. Thank you, ProForce.
But a ton of people, especially youngsters, when they find out what you do, and I say, this is what I've done and adventures, and invariably the first question, hey, you ever shoot anybody? And I'm like, answer, yes. However, let me tell you about the 100 guys I could have shot that I didn't shoot, because just because you can doesn't mean you have to.
Right.
And I said, I'm more proud of, those guys are still breathing because we had superior training, tactics. We had the drop. We were going to win that fight every time. So it's very satisfying to say, hey, I could have, but I didn't. And, we were able to solve that problem.
Yeah, man. Damn.
That was that was a moment. And I actually, I remember calling up my boss. I had been the acting assistant special agent in charge for about 3 months, almost right before that incident. And it was a new ASAC coming in from Miami. It was like his first ASAC job, so I was keeping the seat warm. I gave him the lay of the land. He didn't really know Kansas City too well. So he's on like 2 weeks, and I called him up, and the dust settled, and I say, just so you know, because this is probably going to be on the news, because now there's like 1,000 people out here. Here's what happened. We're all good. He's good, and we're going to sort it out. I had to spend like 5 minutes calming my boss down. He's like, I'm so sorry you had to deal with it. I'm like, dude, this is almost every day in the gun squad. It's like when headquarters would say, they would see our significant information reports on a regular basis. And you don't write them unless something really significant happened. And there's a stream of them coming from me into headquarters. And they would have their little, 6 a.m. briefings. Hey, here's what happened last night. And I remember one guy from headquarters saying, hey, what are you guys doing? Why are you in so many incidents? And I said, well, do you think we're fishing in the right pond? Do you think we're going after the right people? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. So that was a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric, do you have a most strange or bizarre thing you dealt with in your career?
I have like a bucket full of them, but I got a good one for you. And it's almost, if you literally weren't there and I'm telling you the story, you'd be like, that really happened? Yeah, that really happened. And one of the guys that was a street agent, just hired from NYPD, and he was with us on this deal. He later became our deputy assistant director, Pete Friselli, big name. He was an all-star homicide guy. You may have heard that guy. He was the whistleblower.
Yeah, I had him on the show.
Furious. Oh, better yet.
Yeah.
Peter Facacci, but Friselli. But he was out there on this deal. And so here's the deal. I am a street agent in Group 1 in Brooklyn, violent crime group. And it's my last day as a street agent, Friday. That Monday, I'm starting as the supervisor of the Joint Firearms Task Force, Group 4 in Brooklyn. So in my little cubicle, my little street agent cubicle in Red Hook, Brooklyn, I've got my ASAC, the number 2 guy in the field division. I've got my boss, former NYPD guy, Tom Kelly, very, very tough guy. And they're kind of hovering over me as I'm sitting in the chair, and they're trying to give me the, hey, you're going to do great, but, I want to make sure you're, mindful of this, mindful of that, and, it's all going to be good. As they're talking to me, the phone rings. I'm like, stand by, 1 second, ATF. And I've got a crying grown man on the other line saying, the other end of the phone saying, I'm supposed to be in an armed robbery. I'm supposed to be in a home invasion, and we're going to torture a guy, and we're going to kill him, and I want out. He's crying on the phone.
Oh, man, they picked the wrong guy for that job.
He may crack under questioning. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Help. I'm like, where are you? I'm on the Long Island Expressway. Pull over. He pulls over. I'm like, don't move. Just turn your car off and wait for me. I turn around to the 2 bosses, and I'm like, well, I guess the last day as a street agent is going to be eventful, as we would say. And they're like, dude, only you. Only you. So I get the information. I grab this guy off the highway, bring him in, and I'm like, what? And he goes, there's a guy from Florida, just drove up from Fort Lauderdale, big biker guy. He's the strongest, biggest dude I've ever seen in my life. And this is his deal, but he knows my brother, and all the guys are in my house that are going to do this home invasion. This is like Friday afternoon. It's beautiful. Every federal agent in New York City, it's like Friday afternoon, you want to turn your phone off at 2 o'clock because nothing good happens after 2 o'clock on a Friday. You might as well just say, I'm not getting home till Sunday. So this is the story this guy says. He goes, hey, they're in my house right now, and we're going to do this. They're waiting for me to get back. This guy's got $300,000 in his house, in a safe, and we're going to tie him up, and we're going to get the combination to the safe. And if he doesn't want to give us the combination, we're going to start cutting his fingers off. And the guy's got like garden pruners in his, kit bag. Oh, fantastic. Do you know his full name? I'm not really sure of his last name. I think his first name is Steve. I'm like, okay. But his car's parked right in front of my house. Lincoln Continental, Florida plates, boom. Send guys out there. Now we know who Steve is. And we start running him. And he's not only got a local record, convicted felon, he's got a prior federal home invasion that the FBI did. So everything has just ratcheted up. So, and again, this is what ATF, we do a few things really well, and we try to stay in our lane. We don't want to be everything to everybody. Otherwise, you're an inch thick, you're a mile wide, and you're nothing to everybody. Home invasions, pattern armed robbery crews, that is our wheelhouse. That is like one of our bread and butter cases that we have put together and learned all the lessons, and boom, so off to the races we go. I said, listen, I'm going to put a transmitter on you. He's got shorts on and a wife beater, so I tie a transmitter to his upper thigh. I tie a recorder to his other thigh, and I'm like, go back in, talk to Steve, get it on tape, what is going on and what are you guys going to do? And he's like, he's going to know. I'm like, he's not going to know. Get it, come on. You got all of us outside. We're going to listen to everything you say. Any problems, we're going to come right in and get you. Don't worry about it. So he goes in to the house. Now I've got my full team out there. And this is what we hear over the wire. What do you mean go over it again? Didn't I go over it enough? We're going to tie him to the chair. And if he doesn't want to give it, we're going to start cutting his fingers off. We're going to kill him. And it's $300,000 in cash. He's like, what more do you need to know? And he goes, now go out to my car and get my guns. Get the bag in the trunk. I'm like, okay. I guess we've checked every box now.
Yeah.
So this scientist is walking across the street to this Lincoln, and he's like, what do I do? What do I do? And I was crying again. He's like, I don't know what to do. He told me to get his guns.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm thinking, I'm mentally telling him, hey, stupid, you're not going to go bring him a bag of guns. I'm like, into the trunk, out with a gym bag. I don't know what to do. I'm like, hey.
Oh my God.
Everybody move in. Boom. We move in. It's the house was actually in Queens, if I remember right. And it was like a standalone house, which you don't get a ton of them in New York City. Everything is usually attached. But this is a standalone house. It's got a driveway. It's got a backyard. It's got a second floor apartment, first floor apartment, and a basement apartment. And you have to walk up about 5 cement stairs to get to the front door to get into the house, where our bad guy is, where Chuckles has come out to get the bag of guns. And we get to him as he's at the front door. He drops the bag in front of the door on the cement exterior thing. I grab him, I launch him into the bushes that are in front of us, and I'm like, just get on the ground and don't move. I had my M4. The guy next to me had an M4. It was by the way, it was my last day officially my last day on the SRT. Once you become a supervisor, you're off the team. So I'm about maybe sternum level to the cement that you would go into the door, and everything's outside. So we got that guy. So who appears at the front door, but he won't open the screen door. The front door is already open. Steve. And I'm looking at this dude, and I'm like, this dude could be like the toughest man alive competition. Like he had that look with his wife beater tatted up. Huge. And like muscle huge.
Yeah.
And I'm the one giving him commands. I'm like, and the bag of guns, multiple guns, which we found, is literally, he opens the door, the bag of guns are right there. And I can't reach him. So at M4 point, me and my buddy that were next to me, and I got the other cast that are surrounding the house. I'm like, hey, Steve, it's over. Open the door. Don't touch the bag. You can think about it, but don't touch it.
Right.
And get on the ground. You're under arrest. And he won't move. And I'm like, open the door. He opens the door and he steps out. But he won't get on the ground. And he won't say anything. And he's just staring at me. If he takes 2 steps, we could hug. And I'm like, get the F on the ground or I'm going to shoot you. And he won't move. And he's just staring at me with this death stare. So the first time with the M4 actually pointed at a bad guy where I took the safety off and I'm like, I'm starting to do the mental countdown. If this dude doesn't respond to my next command, game over. So Pete Fuselli sneaks up the stairs because now bad guy is concentrated at me and Pete has the ASP and he hits this dude like he was swinging for the fences multiple times, the arms, the leg, the back. And you know Pete, a strong dude, capable, a legitimate tough guy.
Here he is right here for the viewers.
Okay, yeah. This dude just turns around and looks at Pete. No reaction to these Babe Ruth hits. We didn't, I don't think we had the taser with us at that point. So Pete takes like 2 steps back away from him because he realizes I'm definitely shooting this guy. And I'm like, Steve, the fuck on the ground or I'm shooting you. And he just looks at me, down to one knee, down to the other knee, prones out. We need 2 sets of cuffs. And so he was under arrest. But so bizarre and strange, if that wasn't bizarre and strange enough. And I guarantee Pete's told this story no less than 50 times because the story now turns into crazy zone. So I got this guy with 2 sets of cuffs on him, and now I'm like close to him. The dust is settled. He's crying now. And he's like, be careful. I got a wig on. I mean, you got a wig on? He goes, that's a $5,000 wig. And I'm like, okay, not going to touch your $5,000 wig. I'm like, it looked pretty damn real to me. And then I take a close look at his face, and he's got a goatee, but I'm like, did you tattoo a goatee on your face? He goes, yeah, it looks fuller, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh. A lot of vanity with this guy.
So now I've got the rest of the crew is doing a clear on the house, and we're bringing out one guy after the other. All the guys are cuffed up. And there's this one little skinny string bean guy, not a kid, a guy, Frankie, brother of our cooperator. And Steve goes, Frankie, can I just kiss you before I go to jail? And I'm like, what? And yeah, they were like lovers. It was like that. It was like the house of gay. Everybody was gay. Wow. Not that makes it good or bad, but it just
like that Seinfeld episode. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yes, nothing wrong with that. So Frankie gives Steve a nice, they're both. If I could have had a picture of this 2 handcuffed guys,
that's so odd,
kissing each other. Now it gets even a little bit more crazy. I say, okay, everybody stay with this guy because I'm hearing from the driveway, hey, there's a dude in the backyard. So I grab the Wanger, L Wanger, and I'm like, hey, we got the 2 M4s. how could this get crazier? Well, we go down the driveway, doing our little SRT tactical movement. And I see a guy in a lawn chair. He's got the New York Times opened, like not a worry in the world. He's wearing, this is all he's wearing, pink hot shorts. And he's slathered in like Wesson oil. And I'm like, police, don't move. Put the paper down. Don't move. And he goes, oh. He puts the paper down. He turns around. He goes,
hey, fellas.
Is everything okay? And I'm like, hey, did you hear that little commotion going on about 35 feet away from you in the house? He goes, yeah, I live on the second floor. Yeah, I heard it. I didn't want to, get involved. I'm like, get on the ground. He goes, hey, do I really have to get on the ground? I'm a member of NYPD. I'm like, okay. Anybody that says I'm with NYPD, here's one question to ask. What's a 28? Everybody knows what a 28 is. It's like the overtime form. Like, what a 28 is. Well, you say, yeah, it's an overtime. And I'm like, okay, you probably are a cop. He goes, I'm a captain. I'm like, huh. I go, do you have ID? He goes, it's in my apartment. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to march you upstairs to get your ID. He goes, listen, this is before we go in the house. He goes, listen, guys, I live here. I don't know what they do down there. I don't associate with these people. He goes, listen, I'm an openly gay member of the service. I'm like, nothing wrong with that. That's fine. It's,
you do you.
You do you, no problem. He goes, as a matter of fact, I got problems on the job. I'm not allowed to go into a men's room facility in the New York City Police Department. I didn't even want to ask this dude why, what's going on with that. He goes, listen, I don't need this. And I'm like, well, as long as you're not a part of this, and when I say this, I mean what's going on in the front yard right now. We go upstairs, sure enough, he's a NYPD captain. I'm like, hey, dude, I got your information. Can you do me a favor? Go back to reading your paper in the backyard. And if you want to tell the department, that's how they're going to find out. I'm not telling them. I'm like, I couldn't wait to tell 10 of my closest friends. I mean, we had a bunch of the task force guys out there. And they're like, what? What is this? What's going on with this house? So sure enough, in the bag, guns. I think there was a suppressor, handcuffs, duct tape. He had sledgehammer, Halligan tool in his trunk. I mean, he had everything. And I had him on tape. And he fully confessed. He's like, I just made a bad decision. I want to help myself. Is there anything I can do? Is there anything I can do? And I'm like, well, we don't trade down. If you want to stay out of federal prison, you got to put your friends in federal prison that are worse than you. And he goes, I got guys. I can give you this. I can give you that. I'm like, give me something right now that I can verify like that. Can you do that? You got something? Literally, I can make a phone call. He goes, I'll give you something right now. He goes, call up Fort Lauderdale Police Department. Me and my crew just burglarized a safe out of a clothing store. And he goes, now, it's a clothing store that caters to the gay community. And I'm like, okay, what's the name of it? How about that? And he goes, Gay Mart. The name of the store was Gay Mart. He goes, if you call, everybody's going to know about this. So sure enough, I call up a detective squad, and I'm like, this is going to be crazy. But I got this guy in cuffs literally in front of me up in New York, and he's telling me that him and his crew just ripped a floor safe out of a clothing store called Gay Mart. He goes, oh, yeah, that happened. He goes, it was a whodunit. I'm like, well, not anymore. It's not, because I got the guy that masterminded that caper. And so I turn around to Steve and I'm like, you're on a roll, buddy. That checked out. You're good. We're going to sit down. I'll get you a Happy Meal. So now I start talking to this dude, and I'm like, it's strange, bizarre. I'm like, how much can you bench? He goes, well, I can work out 3-4 times a week with 400. Woo. And I believed him. And then I'm like, what do you do for a living? He goes, well, I'm a bouncer at a bar. And I'm like, in Florida? And he goes, yeah. Lauderdale? Yeah. And I'm like, what's the name of the bar? Because now I'm going to call and see, does that place even exist? Is this? And he goes, well,
the
it's a
manhole.
gay bar. And he goes, I'm like, you're a bouncer. He goes, well, I also give massages, but I don't do the stuff that gets the big money. That's it. That's all I do. And I'm like, dude, this is going to be a long day.
I do have a line.
Yeah. And I'm like, I haven't even gotten to you're from Florida. How do you even know about a guy that runs a pizzeria that's got $300,000 in cash in a safe in this particular house? Yeah, that was just...
That is wild, dude.
Yeah. And, somebody called the owner of the house who shows up in a BMW about the hottest girl I had seen in the street in a long time. And she's got an equally well put together female partner, gets out of the car. Yeah, I'm the owner, what's going on? And so I tell her, and she goes, oh, I knew they were up to no good. And she goes, listen, I only rent to gay people, and obviously, I'm gay. And I'm like, we were thinking about calling it the House of Gay case, but, even back then, you couldn't put that as a case name.
Yeah.
And they were extremely cooperative and nice and friendly, as was just about everybody in handcuffs. And I'm like, man, you can't. So, could you imagine Fuseli, me, we've told this story like, hey, people get out of here. And I'm like, that happened. That was my last day as, an official street agent, a GS-13 street agent. And then I started running the task force like 2 days later.
That's nuts, man. Well, that's what the podcast is all about, because people can't believe the stuff that cops get into. It's really
Indeed.
Unbelievable. That is bizarre, brother. Can you take us through your most intense or terrifying call you went
on? Bucket full of those too. So I'll bring you back to when I was in the district attorney's office. Well, two particular shootings stand out. So the first one, Martin Luther King Day, 1996, I wound up shooting a bad guy that had attacked me, was trying to kill me. But what had led up to that was, in the Special Investigations Unit, we had one of the detectives, good dude, and he latched on somehow to a Kilo guy. And Kilos in Brooklyn in the early 90s, like you could almost find them in trash cans. They were like, for somebody to say, I got a guy with a Kilo, that's a nice hit, but there's probably 10 arrests like that today.
Right.
So he goes, well, I got a Kilo guy. I'm like, okay, yeah, what do you need? I hope you out anybody. What do you need? He goes, well, I have him in the office, and he's telling this fantastical tale, and I almost don't want to believe it, and I don't believe him, and he's got to be, this cannot possibly be occurring. What's the story? And he goes, so I grabbed him with a Kilo. And I said, where'd you get it? And he goes, well, I got it from two cops. And I'm like, any major narcotics case that we had done in those years, if you were up on wires and doing a multi-defending conspiracy, and it was a significant drug trafficking group in Brooklyn at that time, horrible to say, but there was always somewhere a member of law enforcement that was somehow in the web. Horrible. So this dude's story is, yeah, I got this from two guys. They want me to sell it, and then I'm going to split the money. And I'm like, how'd they get it? They grabbed it from somebody. And I'm like, okay, a little bit more of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. And he says, all right, I'm a drug dealer. I associate with drug dealers. I associate with their girlfriends. And I'm in the know on stash apartments that are holding significant amount of money and multi amount of kilos of cocaine. I give them that information. They relieve those people of money, which we split, and they give me the kilos, I sell them, and then we split that money. And I'm like, well, not me, but collectively we're like, guess what you're going to do again? That. And we still, don't. Now it's in the stage where you don't want to believe this because whoever these guys are, they're dead in the water. I mean, you cannot not drill that down. So we tell him, all right, you are going to make a phone call. We had a pay phone like on the wall in our office, so we could always make pay phone calls. Nobody's going to call back a pay phone. And tell him you're banging a girl. Her man is a dope dealer. They got a safe in the apartment. You're banging her. You got a key to the apartment. And you have knowledge of how to get into the safe. And you know when they're going to be there and when they're not going to be there. And you tell them, yeah, there's definitely a lot of money and multiple kilos in that safe. Now, the building that the district attorney's office had a 3-story building that we owned. To anybody, it was yet another building with apartments in it, but it was our apartments. We controlled them all. There was like, there must have been 50 video cameras at every possible angle you could think of. So our new friend has the story. He calls up the 75th precinct in Brooklyn, the killing fields, death's door, the most violent piece of real estate in New York City. And he asks for these two guys. He asks for one of them by name. Oh, yeah, he's right here. Hold on. And this is the conversation. Hey, I got another one. Well, we're doing a day tour tomorrow, so, it has to be after 4 o'clock. And, yeah, we'll hook up with you. We'll get the information. And, okay. They've done this. The guy's not bullshitting us. I mean, this phone call actually just happened. Yeah, we almost had to listen to it again to, did that just happen? So we do the right thing. We reach out to the NYPD, to their Internal Affairs Bureau, and tell them the story. And they're like, no way. And we're like, well, we're setting up a deal. If you want to come out on it, you can be part of the team and you can watch this, unfold. It was the most covered block in Brooklyn on that particular afternoon. And car pulls up, 2 guys in full uniform. They go into the building. They go into the apartment. They go right into the safe. Now we got a camera in the safe looking out. Got 50 grand and 2 fake kilos. And they go into the safe. They grab the money. They grab the kilos. Walk right out like, they picked up a loaf of bread. Damn. They split some of the money with our cooperator. They give him the 2 fake kilos. They go, hook up with us whenever you sell them. We'll whack up the money. And, let us know for the next one. So the police department was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, that actually did happen. Can't deny reality.
No denying it now.
And these are young guys. These guys are not 25-year guys. These guys had like less than 5 years on, and they were legitimate bad guys, So the next deal that's set up is our now friend is saying, all right, we give him a story again, and he's like, a car that's moving 300,000 from A to B. It's just a courier, not a solid big guy, just moving money from one place, moving it to the other place. And in those early 90s, it was not uncommon to do car stops and literally gym bags of money. Is that yours? I don't know. I don't know whose bag that is. So they were going to do a car stop on this courier and relieve him of his $300,000. Marked car, uniform, the whole thing. So this was set up to occur on Martin Luther King Day, 1996. The office where I turned out of was very close to the main drag that led right to the Brooklyn Bridge. Anybody could have volunteered to do this, but I just said, hey, I will go get the BMW, the undercover BMW, get it ready for the undercover that's going to drive it, and we'll go out and do this deal. So I was the office's one of the 9mm instructors at the time, and I was and always have been a tactics guy, value the training, value the qualifications, and it's a degradable ability. You have to stay up on it. And I always tell guys, I'm like, if you're leaving the office, go around the corner, get a piece of pizza, have your gun, have extra magazines, you might want to have a set of handcuffs, and most importantly, do not leave the building without a portable radio. That's your lifeline. If you need help, that's it. You're not going to make a phone call. You're not going to find a payphone. You're not going to scream help. You need the radio. So I had all those things. I come down from my 5th floor office. Now it's Martin Luther King Day. Desolate. The streets are desolate. Usually there's, hundreds of people everywhere. The only people that are around are on the main drag going through the Brooklyn Bridge, because Al Sharpton is leading a protest march to shut the Brooklyn Bridge down. Martin Luther King Day protest. Fantastic.
Yeah, wonderful.
And there's a lot of press covering that march, which is going on as I come out of the building at like 10:30 in the morning. So I got the portable in my hand. I'm dressed like every other plainclothes guy. I've got the leather jacket, the portable, and that portable, there's only one thing. Nobody uses these kind of portables. Like, looking at the portable is like looking at a marked car. Oh, that's the police. Oh, that portable, that's the police. So I had that. And I see a guy standing on the sidewalk in front of me, and he's waving what I recognize as a transit summons, like a C summons, like he jumped a turnstile or something. And he's saying, hey, where do I pay this? And I take a step towards him, and I'm like, dude, it's a federal it's a holiday. It's like everything's closed. He's a black guy. You should notice. It's Martin Luther King Day. But I said, but tomorrow morning, and I point with the portable up the street, and I'm like, 2 blocks up, you can go into this building and blah, blah, blah. As soon as I say that and point the radio, I never saw the second guy that came up from behind me and hit me about as hard as I've ever been hit in my life, going all the way back to that day. Shattered the nose like it was, cockeyed under my, coming up under my eye, and
jeez.
And that was the opening salvo. Now, I didn't see it because now I'm dealing with this guy, became my new priority one. And a witness, a bus driver across the street, had said, when this whole thing kicked off, the guy you were talking to, like, immediately pulled a gun out. And I'm like, I never saw that. Like, that guy almost didn't exist anymore, because I'm screaming. It's not uncommon, assaults in the street. It's like, a robbery, whatever. It happens constantly. But if you're a plainclothes guy, as soon as you scream, hey, police, get on the ground, they run away. It's like, that's a cop, and he's probably got a gun. Except this guy was not getting on the ground, didn't say anything, and the battle was on. There was blood everywhere, and it was all mine, and I was not winning. And now I'm on the ground with this guy. I'm trying to scream into the radio, but I've got it on channel 9, which is our point-to-point, which is what we were going to use that day. I don't have it on the 8476 precinct division frequency, but it almost didn't matter because the radio got kicked out of my hand, and now I managed to get up, push this guy away. It goes out to the side. It's like everywhere I went, it's like just blood trail everywhere. So finally, we're out by the curb, and I've taken my gun out now, and I'm like, dude, get on the ground. I'm getting that nummy, tingly, like I feel like I'm pretty much gonna pass out. And I'm thinking, if I pass out, it's an absolute wrap. It's like this dude, like, never said a word, was not stopping the assault. It was, just fight. So
Damn.
he, again, almost like the guy at the end of my career, right into the waistband, comes at me like a football tackle. And I'm just like, boom, boom, 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, except my headshot goes through his hat. But I've got 2 in the, 2 upper chest. We were carrying 9mm full metal jacket at that time. So in his chest, out his lower back, because he was coming at me like that football tackle position. But he goes down and he's not moving. I'm like on the ground. I'm trying to get my shield out. Let me crawl to a wall so I can look at him and I know nobody can sneak up behind me. So unknown to me, there were some cops, uniformed guys around the corner investigating a burglary. They heard the shooting. They came running. A fire truck was around the corner. They heard the shooting. They came over. Now, one of the things in New York City is there's so many calls for help. There's so many 911 calls. Shots fired. Is there really shots fired? They would wait for somebody to get on the scene and somebody to say, hey, confirmed, I've got a victim. I've confirmed, I've got a guy with a gun. So you're always kind of listening, is this confirmed? Because even the dispatchers would say, hey, unconfirmed call of.
Right. And it's a holiday. Could be kids, fireworks, whatever.
Exactly. So the other people that heard this was the press from Al Sharpton's protest march. They come running off the street because now, I'm going to be a movie star with all the news stations, and they only had to run like a block, and they were right there. So the front page of the New York Post the next day is me against the wall, the guy I shot laying on the sidewalk or on the floor, as we say, whatever your feet are on, that's the floor. And the first cop running up with his portable, he's screaming into the portable. He goes, this is what he says on the radio. I listened to the tape. He goes, confirmed, officer shot in the face, officer shot in the face.
Oof.
And now there's like 3 or 4 other cops that have run up. And I'm like, I heard him say, I'm pretty sure I'm not shot. He's shot.
I'm sure you're so jacked up. You're like, am I shot in the face?
I started wondering, am I shot in the face? Well, so when a call goes out, confirmed job, you're going to get the whole everything wagon train is going to show up. Confirmed officer shot. The only people that didn't come were Steve McQueen and 10 Roman gladiators. I mean, aviation, highway. So when there's a cop shot, there's a cascade of SOPs that instantly highway cops go to the blood bank because they're going to run blood to whatever hospital you're going to go to. There's highway cops that come to the scene. They're going to escort the ambulance.
Wow.
Emergency service, New York City SWAT guys, they're going to come. I mean, everybody that was working came. And I'm trying to say, I'm pretty sure I'm not shot. They're like, dude, take it easy, don't move. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to sit here.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the ambulance, there's like 10 ambulances show up. Well, I get loaded into one, and now they're like, the Brooklyn Bridge is still open. So in New York City, there's a lot of hospitals. If you're a cop and you're hurt, you may drive past 3 hospitals to get to the level 1 trauma because that's the only place they're going to bring you. And typically we would never wait for an ambulance. It's just load and go. You want to, start putting some survival points with that golden hour on your side of the table. So off we go. Boom. St. Vincent's Hospital. It's not even there anymore, but it's in Lower Manhattan. That ambulance didn't touch the brakes for that entire trip. So we're backing up. So I can see on the stretcher, I can see out the back window, and there's an entire surgical team. It looked like, Grey's Anatomy. They were gloved, suited up, just like us. They adopted the sense of urgency. So they get me out of the back of the ambulance. I'm going to be wheeled right into one of the trauma rooms at St. Vinny's. And there's a female doctor that literally jumped on top of me on the stretcher. The clothes are getting cut off, and they've been already told I'm shot in the face. Now I'm covered in ragu.
Oh yeah, you're covered in blood, so they're probably maybe
And
he
now
is.
So I shock her by talking, and I said, "I don't think I'm shot." She goes, "You don't know," and I'm like, "Oh, okay. You know what? I'm just gonna
gaslighting you into being shot."
Experience, and they quickly determined, "Hey, you're not shot," and I'm like, "Okay." Good. I said, but there's going to be a guy here in about 15 minutes. He is shot.
Right.
And sure enough, they brought him to the same hospital. He's in the trauma room next to me screaming. They right away do emergency surgery on him. And the surgeon later talked to me a few days later. He goes, hey, there's no reason that guy should be alive. We had to take a kidney out, a piece of liver, part of his intestines. The only thing that kept him alive is he had so much crack cocaine in his system that it's like the heart was going to keep beating as long as it was able to. I'm like, you know what? Fine. I would have been fine either way, but I guess one degree of comfort that I can say, yeah, I didn't kill him.
Right.
So then I was out of line of duty for 16 months, which in New York City, I needed 3 operations to put myself back together. I said, I want to look like Travolta. They laughed. They're like, that's a tall order. Can't do that.
You do. Now that you say that, you do kind of look like John Travolta.
I know. I'm like, try your best. So if you're out on line of duty in New York City, the city has the option of medically retiring you no matter what. We're not going to wait forever for you to be able to return to full duty. We're just going to medically retire you. So they bring this up to me when it starts getting up to that 1 year, and I'm like, I've lived in this office. I said, all these bosses, they're heroes in the eyes of the administration because, I've been feeding you a constant diet of awesomeness. I said, listen, I want to go to ATF someday. I can't be medically retired and get picked up as a federal agent. They're going to be like, no. I said, let me stay. I'm begging you. And they said, okay, we like you. Try to come back when you can. So after 16 months, I was able to come out. The crazy thing is, in those days, unless you killed a cop, you really weren't going to get time. So they gave him a year.
Jeez.
For that assault, a year.
You're kidding me.
Which a year sentence really means 11 months, 10 and a half. So he was, and my incident was his 22nd arrest. So no stranger, it wasn't a one-off for this guy, a history of violence. He's out. I'm not even back to work. He then commits a vicious rape in the Bronx, and I'm like, if I had killed him, that rape victim would not have had that happen. But the coulda, woulda, I was like, hey, I conducted myself the best I could. And
well, thank the Lord he didn't knock you out, He sounds like he broke your face.
So I needed the first operation that night was to stabilize everything. And I still got some bone fragments around the lower eyes, and there were jaw fractures. 4 months later, there was a second operation to really attempt to repair the damage. And then there was another operation that I needed, which I got. And they said, you need a fourth operation to the face, because one side way back sometimes will shut down, which is unnerving if I'm driving to the passenger, because it sounds like I'm sleeping, but I'm not. And I said, no, I'm just gonna learn to live with that. I don't know why somebody would elective surgery to the face, to the nose. That pain was about unbearable. And they gave, back in those days, the pain medicine, they gave me like, I don't want to say it was a very large container of oxycodone.
Yeah.
Or hydrocodone. And they were like, take this, whatever, 3-4 times a day. And I'm like, I'm going to be a zombie if I start taking
make
this
an
stuff.
addict
So
out of you.
I took it a few times, literally just to get to sleep after getting out of the hospital for the first go around. And then I'm like, you know what? I'll take the beating. I am not taking this at all anymore. I'm telling my father this story like a year later. He's like, you didn't take them? He's like, what? He goes, what are you going to do with them? I'm like, just flush them down the toilet, drug turn in, whatever. He goes, I'll take care of it for you. Like, chronic back pain from the Army. I'm like, I'll take care of those for you. I'm like, okay. Yeah, there you go.
That's funny. Yeah, dude, I snapped my leg and got on oxycodone, and same with me. It would make me fall asleep, and then I would have crazy dreams and try to straighten my leg, and the bone would, like where it broke, would like rub, and I was like, I was from high school football, so I just gave them to my dad. I was like, I can't have these. Like I'm re-breaking my leg. I was falling asleep in class. They're strong.
Jesus. To this day, so, when anybody says, oh, you ever have bad dreams? I have a recurring dream like every other month of being in like an unwinnable fight situation, like your gun is 3 feet away and for whatever reason you can't get to it.
You're wearing cinder blocks for sneakers.
Yeah, it's like, it's always this unwinnable situation. And you got to wake yourself up and realize it's not real. So my kids know, if you have to wake dad up, shake my foot. Do not come within arm's reach, because if you're within arm's reach and you're touching my arm or trying to wake me up, I may think I'm being attacked. I'm like, my wife's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm like, I don't want to lash out and, smack our kid into the. So, they still laugh about this to this day. It's like, hey, Dad, because I always tell them, any problems, you come down and get me right away. Yeah, I'll shake your foot though. I'm like, yeah.
Like dad's horrible trauma is funny.
It's crazy. Just so one more, and it also involves a shooting, and this is with ATF. And just like cops, the majority of ATF, you pretty much roll your whole career without firing your gun. And a lot of that is just a good training. We control the scenario about every time. It's a time and place of our choosing. And that's why we always say the uniform officer has it a lot harder than a federal agent, because you have to respond to everything. Every time somebody calls, that's a response. You're going to everything. And it's not a time and a place of your choosing. It's like, and you're not going to have 8 of your guys rolling with you everywhere you go. Like when we decide we're going to do a deal and it's going to result in arrest or a rescue or whatever, we're prepared for that. We have the assets, we have the people, we have the equipment. It's all good. And just as an aside, so when I had the task force in New York with ATF, and then I ran the Long Island task force. I was a supervisor on a home invasion task force on the Mexican border in 2010. That was just like a 120-day detail. But then when I ultimately came out to Kansas City to take over the gun squad, I almost forgot where I was going with that for a second. I'm sure that's happened.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can't stop seeing John Travolta in my screen right now. Since you said that, I see it really.
Yeah, so here it is. So, we would have boss conferences, trainings every now and again around the country. And the gun squad, it was 5 years I did it. Steve, it was the best 5 years by far of any assignment. That's including the special response team, doing undercover. I mean, whatever. Running that gun squad was the singular best experience. These guys were hitters, hand-selected agents, hand-selected sergeant, hand-selected detectives. And a lot of the detectives and the sergeants had all been SWAT guys before becoming detectives and then rolling into the gun squad. So everybody had a super strong tactical background. So, and we were, Steve, we were crushing it. Like I was never, ever home. Never home, almost. Like I would race home, mow the lawn, and then the phone would ring again, boom. So, other bosses around the country, they were like, dude, like we're hearing the stuff you guys, it's like, how are you doing that? Like, how do you make these, how are you constantly a whodunit, a cop shot, boom, you got the guy under arrest within hours. And it's like 100 guys are working this and nobody, it's a whodunit. And then you're calling, yeah, we just grabbed them. So I would tell them all the same thing. If you don't have what I have, you're not going to get what I get. And I said, I've never seen anything like this ever, anywhere. Kansas City, Missouri Police Department is squared away, like super squared away. These are, I'm sure they got problem children just like we do, but I've not met any of them.
That's awesome.
Their SWAT program, so when I was there, 2 levels of SWAT. There was SWAT that would get called out to a particular ongoing situation. Then there was another element of their SWAT program called SNUTAC, Street Narcotics Tactical Enforcement. SWAT guys, but usable, user-friendly is the best way to say it. So when I got introduced to this concept, and I'm like the first few deals, I'm like, hey, I got to borrow some people from other groups to cover this deal. They go, no. We got a full SNUTAC team of 7 or 8 guys that'll come out. And I'm like, they got time for that? And they're like, they come out with us everywhere we go. Because there were 2 main units, the gun squad and the career criminal squad. So career criminal was an FBI-sponsored task force, gun squad, ATF-sponsored. The only thing that separated us in our unknown to anybody's building was a wall and a door. And when we had something that heated up, they would all come out with us, and vice versa. So it was like a complete force multiplier. So between the 2 squads, career criminal and the gun squad, SNUTAC was busy 7 days a week, literally. They would come on every surveillance, every buy, every arrest, every search warrant. So I would say to other bosses, I'm like, I got a SWAT team that rolls with us everywhere. And there have definitely been shootings during stuff we've been involved with, career criminal and our stuff. And it's like, if you don't have that asset, that's a problem. Now, I would have some detractors in ATF. My old Gumbada Chiches on the SRT, we had 5 teams in the United States. And some of them would say, hey, you need SWAT, you call us. Why are you using a local team? And I'm like, well, I can call them on the radio or I can call the sergeant on the phone, and in 10 minutes, they're where we are.
Yeah, right.
Ready
right
to go.
there.
Right there. And they know us, they know our tactics, they know how we do our deals. They might as well just be part of the task force also. And you've got a team that does 20 reps a day between the 2 squads and anybody else that needs them in the city. So these guys are, the difference between a SWAT team and a squat team, it's like, oh, Johnny Bravo, the shirt fits. It says SWAT, I'm a SWAT guy. These guys, constant training. They would, the first 2 hours of their day, training every single day, every single day. They knew, it was almost unspoken after a while. They knew when to, when not to, where to be, what to do. I couldn't say enough good about these guys. Just like, but again, I would tell these other bosses around the country, I'm like, if you don't have what I have, you're not going to get what I get. The other thing, I was able to establish, along with the police, TF, task force officers in the group, the homicide unit in Kansas City, very insular group of people. They are the sharp knife in the drawer, absolute experts at investigating homicides, and they care. So trying to break into that force field, because that's who you want to be friends with. That's where the murderers are. That's where the shooters are.
Right.
Between them and the assault squad, they know, here is the flavor of the day. This is who we need to grab off the street. So we would start, what do you need? This just happened. And then they came to trust us and want to work with us, to the point where the police department said, okay, now we're going to put the gun squad, like you don't have enough things to do, but we're going to put you on homicide rotation. So for 2 weeks, you're on it. For 2 weeks, career criminal. For 2 weeks, somebody else is going to be on it. Homicide happens, you're responding with the homicide unit for whatever your capabilities can bring to the table. So one of the things that we were able to do, and the homicide guys, now that we got to be like super tight with them, they would be like, dude, you guys literally sprinkle pixie dust on a whodunit, and we've got the shooter and the gun in like less than 24 hours. And we did that a number of times.
Nice.
If you don't have what I have, you're not going to get what I get. Where I live, maybe 8-9 miles away, Interstate 35, one uniform guy does a car stop at night, and he's with a small town police department. They've got maybe 10 guys, maybe 15. It's a nighttime car stop on the side of the interstate, and he's got 1 foot on the ground and his door open, and bop, bop, 2 shots right to his face, car takes off.
Damn.
Not only does he live, he's conscious. He's able to say it was a green car and I think Tennessee plates. That's it. And he's got 2 380s that are in the cheeks. And again, I'm sure he shocked people at the hospital. This cop gets wheeled in, 2 in the face, and he's talking, and And he fully recovered from that. He's back on duty. But that was like a whodunit. Green car, Tennessee plates. Well, my neighbor is at that time was a captain with the highway patrol, and he was the troop commander, Troop A in Missouri. My neighbor, so I've gotten to know him, and we have beers, the kids hang out, and it's a self-help little street that I live on. So I immediately call him when I hear about this, and I'm like, hey, we're available. What do you need? He's like, dude, he goes, I'm running this thing, and we've basically got like nothing to go on other than the cop's going to live, which is the best. So if you don't have what I have, maybe 3 hours pass after the shooting, which was like 11:30 at night. One of my guys calls me and he goes, hey, I just got a call from my CI, a female stripper, of course. She said, I don't know if this is important, but my boyfriend said he just killed a cop and he wants me to bring him to a house in Kansas City, Kansas, and he wants me to get rid of his car. Like, fantastic.
Damn.
So I immediately get that girl in pocket, and she goes, here's where I put the car. Boom. Green Honda Tennessee plates. Fantastic. We get the car. What house did you and your friend drive him to in Kansas City, Kansas? Oh, I can show you the house right away. So now I've got my buddy on the horn, highway patrol, and I'm like, hey, guess what? Here's the shooter, and this is the residence. I said I'm almost there now with a skeleton crew. It's just starting to get to be dawn. And Kansas City, Kansas, they have a phenomenal SWAT team, and one of their snipers is an ATF Task Force officer. So, boom, we get him on the horn right away, say, hey, it's Sunday morning, start spinning up your guys. Boom, this is what we got. And he goes, absolutely. He goes, it's not going to be in 5 minutes, but we'll get to a staging area. We'll get a team together. And so all I've got my guys, and we've got the 4 sides of the house under observation. And I'm now trying to negotiate over the PA with this guy. His name was Omar Maria. I don't mind saying that guy's name because he's a POS. And the reason that Mr. Maria decided that he wasn't going to jail that day, because one of my guys in the gun squad had arrested him several years earlier as a felon in possession of a firearm. And he got a taste of federal prison. I think he did maybe 4 or 5 years. He gets out. Now all of a sudden he's in possession of a loaded gun, and he probably had about 20 ounces of crack, 20 ounces of meth. East Coast, you think crack. Out here, it's meth. I don't think I saw crack once out here in Kansas City. Meth everywhere. So I'm negotiating. It's a one-way negotiation. I'm like, hey, we know you're inside. If you can hear me, flick the porch light on and off. I'm negotiating with a light bulb, but I know he's in there. And I knew his cell phone number, but I didn't want to give up that I knew that cell phone. I didn't want to try to call him. Finally, Kansas City, Kansas SWAT is now assembled, briefed, kitted up, ready to go. They had no objection to putting a phone call into Mr. Maria, and they go, hey, we're coming in if you don't come out. And if we come in, you're not coming out. So he surrendered with the female that he had in there. And just as chance would have it, one of my guys headed there to meet us. He says, hey, that car's driving a little wacky. Car stopped it. There's the 20 ounces of meth from Chucklehead that yet another female was told to get rid of. So all's well that ends well. And again, the homicide guys, everybody that was working. I was like, how the hell did you guys figure this out? I'm like, I'd like to tell you it was awesome, but it was having a good rat, a good CI. And that was the thing. You could have 100 CIs that don't perform, or you could have one superstar informant that could keep an enforcement group busy 7 days a week, just one. And we had a collection of those types of people. So kind of long-winded story, but that established our relationship with the highway patrol. And plus I had an excellent friendship with the guy running the troop.
That's great.
Fast forward, the other cool thing Kansas City did is every morning our specialized units, we would all meet face-to-face, 20-minute morning meeting, and we would discuss the violence from the night before. Just so everybody's got the 10,000-foot view of what happened and where we may want to look at today. So one of the things, and the person briefing us, they're briefing us from the telephone because it's typically somebody from the homicide unit or the assault squad from a shooting. So we're getting it over the speakerphone to the 30, 40 people sitting in this room. And I always sat back, like everybody wanted to be at the table. It's like, I'm fine to sit in a chair and be a backbencher. I'll raise my hand if necessary. So we start getting a brief. Hey, a uniformed trooper had a stolen trailer, pickup truck at a house in the middle of nowhere in Independence, Methville. And he goes to investigate this by himself because all the troopers all the cops, everybody works. You're a uniformed guy. It's sorry to say, but you're probably going to be a one-person car. The city
alone
guys,
a lot.
Thank God a lot of them are two, but the majority is probably a single car. So now this trooper, his first name is Nate. Nate is tough, like you would expect any trooper, but he's like a little bit beyond tough. He's like, you look at him, this is the last guy you would want to roll on the ground with. This dude looks like he could like pick up a car and roll it over. He had that look. Super nice guy, but he had the look. So Nate gets confronted by a guy with a sawed-off shotgun. He describes, guy had a sawed-off shotgun, and now I'm being held at gunpoint by this guy. And he's like, oh, he's got a gun. I got a gun too, except there's a load of people behind him, so my background is no-go. He then starts coming at Nate with this shotgun, but then turns the gun towards himself as he gets into a stolen pickup truck, and he's gone. So Nate is like, well, priority one just left. Now let me start cuffing up people in his house and figure out who this guy is.
Yeah.
So they do that, and this guy's in the wind, and there's no finding him, and he's like a mirage. And I'm listening to this briefing, and I'm like, whoa. I'm like DiCaprio in the Hollywood. I'm like, whoa, stop, everybody stop. I'm like, who's looking for this guy right now? Who? And, everybody said, well, nobody. It just happened yesterday afternoon. I'm like, duly noted. I pick out the phone. I call my buddy, the troop commander, and I'm like, hey, I just heard about this thing. I don't want to jump into your pasture if you've got 50 guys on a manhunt, but if you need anything, I will take my entire task force group offline. We don't go home. We don't do anything, and we're going to figure out who this dude is, and we're going to crush him. And he goes, if you could do that, I would be greatly appreciated. I've got some uniformed guys doing some basic checks, but we got nothing. Can you do that? And I'm like, I wrote a check that I didn't know if I could cash. And I said, so this is in the morning. And I'm like, Scott, the troop commander, I'm like, he will be in handcuffs before the clock strikes midnight. So now I get all my guys,
on.
and they're like, hey, we just heard that promise. And I'm like, and now you people are going to execute and make my word good to the highway patrol that we love. Okay. So I had a brand new guy. I say new guy. He wasn't a new guy because he'd been a cop for a few years. Tommy Wagner, I can say his name. Brand new agent to ATF. And he'd been around a little bit, but the bosses liked him and they go, hey, let's get this kid spun up on experience. I'm going to put him in the gun squad. Is that cool? I'm like, hell yeah. Tommy looked like he fell out at Pelican Bay, like the shot caller for the Aryan Nation. Shaved head, super capable guy, had walked on a D1 tryout for a football team at his college. With 25 guys, they took one, him. He was an intimidating force and super nice and knew what he was doing. So he goes like, and he's been with me a week. He's like, how are we going to find this guy? And I'm like, we're not going to find them. We're going to find the girl, and she's going to find them. That's how we're going to find them. Okay, so a long, rolling snowball down the hill, Facebook. I always made sure I had at least one agent under 30 years old. They grew up with that. Google, Schmoogle, Facebook, social media. And I tell them, I'm like, I was 32 years old before I had my first cell phone. Nokia, pull up the antenna, 100 minutes a month, that's it. I'm like, thankfully, you'll never know the struggle, but yeah, that's your lane. Social media, work that shit. Boom.
Yeah.
And they come up with it. They're like, that's our guy right there. And there's a girl in the picture, and there's another guy. And she makes the caption, 2 of my tightest guys in the world. Oh, let's find her. Can't find her. Let's find the other guy. He's got an ankle monitor on, and he is a hot mess, but we get in front of him like early in the evening. This is all the same day that we got this briefing. And when I got my group together, I mean, we've briefed 7-8 times a day on various stuff that we're rolling on. We all get together, and it was probably when we brief, like, here's the plan. There was kind of like this like little pallor in the air, like everybody is serious all the time. But when we did that briefing, everybody was serious. Like, we weren't even joking around. It was like business. Okay. So we find ankle monitor guy, and he's like, yeah, that guy, yeah, I think the words were, that dude is a maniac, and he is absolutely going to shoot it out with you. Okay? Good intel. And where's the girl? That's my girlfriend. I have a daughter in the next room. We share a kid, but she's such a drug addict that the courts gave me ankle monitor the kid, like the worst, the less worse of too bad.
Right.
And I'm like, get her on the phone, tell her you got an ounce of meth and you want to party. She's like, well, she's not going to believe that because she knows I got the ankle monitor. I'm like, you're going to convince her that you just want to be with her and you want to burn through this ounce of meth and you don't care.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, she'll believe that. He's like, but I can't do like I'm like, what? He goes, well, I have to do like Facebook call, Messenger, or what?
Oh, like, yeah. That's big with these guys.
I'm like, how do you float through life? How did you get this far? But she answers. She goes, oh, you got an ounce of meth and your thing's going to go off. Yeah, who cares? Yeah, I'm in room 300 at the Crossland Motel in Independence, of all places. As soon as we were at Independence, we were like,
yeah,
this may end in Gunsmoke. So I'm like, okay. So she's got a warrant. Perfect. So I've got this written tactical plan, which ever since Waco, we kill a tree every time we do a deal. Everybody gets a tactical plan, and it's pretty much got everything anybody would need to know. Everything. So I got this tactical plan, and I always carried it in my back pocket. And if something changed or personnel changed, I would, they're off, they're in, here's where we're going, this, just a little quick note. So I'm writing these little quick notes, thank God, in the shooting investigation. So we get to the hotel, and I had previously met with Independence Police Department in a gas station parking lot. I'm like, hey, can you send a sergeant and like 5 uniformed guys at least? And as soon as they heard the gun squad, they were like, oh, okay, something's going on. They're calling for help, boom. And it was the one night that SNUTAC was unavailable. I mean, they're never unavailable, but there was so many deals going on that night. Okay, so the independent sergeant, uniformed sergeant, had previously been a task force officer with the career criminal. So we didn't have to explain pretty much. He knew the details. Okay, I got it. What do you need us to do? I said, this motel is huge, but there's only one way in and one way out. I said, we're going to make contact with this girl. I said, do you guys got spike strips and all of that? They go, yeah, it's independent. It's like every car stop's a car chase. Everybody's got it. They even have a thing called Star Chaser. It's a gun barrel on the front of every marked car.
I've seen those. Yeah.
I actually used one night. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It like shoots a goo pack with a GPS transponder.
That's awesome.
So I'm like, this is the Roach Motel. Nobody gets out of this parking lot. If we hit you on the radio, spike strip the entrance, spike strip the access road, nobody leaves. On it. I'm like, love these guys. And these uniformed guys were spun up. They're like, this guy did what? Yeah. They were like, oh, they're calling their friends. Hey, if you're not doing anything, come over here. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's going to be great. So we make there's like 20 of us. Everybody on the squad was there that night. Everybody. And we had just had a new sergeant come in, but he was a good dude. And he was like, holy shit, it's like you guys roll like this every day? I'm like, yeah, like every day. Boom, knock on the door, stupid answers. She's got a guy in there with her. And I just say, Jason Simon, where is he? She goes, I don't know. Okay, door number 1, you're going to jail because you got a warrant. And I'm pretty sure if we rip this room apart, you're going to have a quantity of meth. She goes, yeah, I don't want to go to jail. Good. Well, you're going to put your old boyfriend in jail. She gets him on the horn and she goes, hey, I got an ounce of meth. Come and meet me at this room at the motel. Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Hangs up. She immediately says, this guy I'm scared of this guy. This guy's an absolute maniac. He's going to shoot it out with you. And he always drives a stolen truck. And by the way, the guy that I got in this room, he already had a fight with this guy a week ago. He knows now this guy is in this room with me. I'm like, okay, that's an added detail you probably could have left out of that conversation, but yeah, boom, dummy. Here we are. Yeah. Now we rebrief. I'm like, here's the plan. Let him park. Let him get out of this, whatever he's driving. I'm going to roll right up to him. He's got one choice. Get on the ground and give up. Or I'm going to have the taser on him just at the get-go. I'll weld him. All's well that ends well. He's never going to have a chance to get to the gun. Good. So 20 minutes later, here comes our bad guy driving a pickup truck 1 mile an hour through the entire parking lot. He's looking at everything. I'm leaning back in my pickup truck. I'm like, I'm a headrest. Don't look at me. Don't even listen. He's in his methed out mind. He was satisfied that there weren't the 20 police that were from the gun squad that were already there. Awesome. And we've put our now female in a car with one of my guys up the street. You're going to make the positive ID, which she does. That's him. He's coming down. He's in a white F-350 dually diesel. I'm like, oh, God, not going to pin this guy in.
Yeah.
He, out of the 150 cars he could have parked next to, parks next to my sergeant, who's got limoed out windows. It's like 11:30 at night. And right before this, all our radios were like, we're in this little depression. We're not hitting the digital trunk system out of Kansas City. And we're like, okay, comms are now, they're not working. Because I didn't see him come out. And I'm like, where is this dude? Why isn't my guys saying, all right, it's getting out of the truck? So I'm like, F it. I creep around. It's a huge motel system. It's got airways and long wings. So when I come around, and my guys laughed at me about this, but it's the New Yorker in me. When I got out with all my gear, I closed the door and I go, beep. I put the alarm on my truck. They're like, why did you do that? I'm like, hey, look where we are. It's like, in New York, you come out and everything's missing out of your police car. So I do that, and the guy is not in the parking lot. He's already started walking up the exterior stairs to get to the top level and go to this room. Now I have a face-to-face with my sergeant who's running towards me. I can hear him. He's like, he's got a gun. And I'm like, what? But now I'm like focused on this dude because now he's literally direct. I'm on the parking lot. He's on the top balcony looking down at me. He's got a huge backpack on one arm, and he's got what I am about 110% sure is that shotgun, but it's covered in a towel. He's like carrying a towel that looks like it's got a long, rigid object under it. Right. He had parked next to the sergeant, got out, and the sergeant's like, should I just shoot him through the window? I mean, I can't get on the radio. And he's like, ah. So I'm like, all right. At that time, we had the Glock Model 22 40 cal with the headlight. And I light him up, and I'm like, Jason, get on the ground. It's over. Give up. He trots away, and now he starts banging on the door where the girl was, who I have a task force officer, one of also collateral duty as a negotiator, and I got Tommy, my Aryan Nation looking D1 tryout getting football star in the room. And just to be on the safe side, I had given them my ATF bunker. I'm like, you know what? Just keep this in the room. You never know. And the other dude that had been in a fight with this guy is laying in a bathtub, whimpering. And Tommy goes to Jimmy, the negotiator, goes, he's going to get in, isn't he? He's screaming, let me in, the cops are out here. And Jimmy's like, yeah, he just might get in. Just get behind me in the bunker. He doesn't get in, he runs. So now all my crew is, I got guys going up to the top floor, walkway. I am with a now retired detective, former SWAT guy, awesome dude, Owen. We're running through a tunnel, and we have to pop out. And we pop out, and I'm literally waiting. I'm just waiting for the shots, like he's standing over the balcony just waiting. It's like, but a bunch of people, not a bunch, but some people in ATF, they had a little thing they would put on their vest, JHAP. Like, that's JHAP. Jesus hates a pussy. Sometimes you just got to go.
Oh, jeez.
So Owen and I, and the sergeant who had first seen the guy actually with a gun, and he's telling us as we're running, he's got a gun. I saw the gun. I'm like, fuck. A dip container goes out of the sergeant's. I don't know why I noticed this, but it went through the air, and I'm like making a mental. And I'm like, don't see that every day. The sergeant goes right with everybody else, and I got all my other guys on the third floor. Owen and I go left, and we're by ourselves, and we're pushing into this long ass parking lot. We can see the balcony of this like 40 room wing. And here comes our bad guy from the far end, running full speed, shotgun in his hand, won't stop, won't get down, won't drop the gun. Owen and I fire at precisely the same time, and he doesn't stop. Owen's got an M4, I had the Glock. And I'm purposely thinking I've got to do a headshot, because if I'm aiming for his body, if I miss, it's going to go through a hotel window. I'd rather do the headshot. If I miss a shot, it's going to go into the ceiling. So the first shot, and it's probably a 35, between 35 and 40 yards. So it's not close.
That's a long headshot.
That's a long headshot. No reaction from the first shot from either of us. I'm like, okay, maybe he's a vested opponent. But I do know that if he gets to this breezeway and he can only go one way, all my guys are at the other end of that breezeway, all of them. And I'm like, he can't break that corner. Been a firearms instructor, been on our SRT team. I mean, and none of it was excited. It was like another training evolution. And I'm like, front sight, front sight, front sight. I put it right on the base of his head, a controlled trigger, boom, second shot, boom, goes right down. And I turned around to Owen, and Owen, whose M4's made a few shots now, like 5 inches away from my ear. I'm like that guy, and probably I can't hear so good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, let's go grab him, man. He went down like a sack of bricks. He's like, all right, so yeah, we're doing our thing up the stairwell. We get to him. There's the gun. No body, no blood. And I'm like, what? I break the corner. I break the other corner where all my guys are, and there's like a scene going on where they're putting a tourniquet on this guy. He's fighting. I've never seen a human being bleed that much and live. I think I sent you the picture, Steve, and you're more than welcome to flash that picture up if you want.
Let me find it.
It looked like a car
Where'd you hit him?
Size blood puddle. He got, well, that's just the thing. I'm thinking, how did he get from where I saw him drop to here without bleeding? And then I realized, because I didn't hit him. Jimmy, my negotiator, he's charging at them when he breaks the corner. He had been purported to have a second gun also. He refused to get down. He had his hand like in a bad position. Boom, Jimmy takes one shot right into the brachial artery, upper arm.
Yeah.
And that, he goes, yeah, it was just like they told us, like in training, like it was like a fire hose. It just went everywhere. And he's still like non-compliant. But they had assets. They slam him to the ground. They get the tourniquet on him, get the cuffs. And after I put out a very controlled, like help / I need an ambulance. There's a channel in Kansas City called Traffic. If you slam your knob all the way to the left or all the way to the right, either end is the same frequency. So if you're in stress, you don't have to look at your radio, you just slam it one way or the other, you're on the emergency frequency. If you talk on Traffic, every radio, portable, base, car, instantly you are the priority radio transmission. So 1981 was my radio, and I'm like, 1981 on Traffic. And they're like, first of all, everybody knows the 1980 series is the gun squad. It's like 1981 on Traffic, something has gone awry.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I've been in a shooting, bad guys down, good guys are good. I need an ambulance forthwith. We've got tourniquet on them, and get them the whole thing. Well, everybody that knew me, that heard that, like that had, nothing having to do with any of the response. It's like, dude, the city like emptied out. It was like water going through a colander. It's like, we didn't know exactly what happened, but if you guys were out there, it was going to be bizarre. So all's well that ends well. But the funny thing is when Tommy's cuffing this dude up and bringing him down to the ambulance, he goes, you guys just killed me. I want a last meal. I'm like, whoa. What do you want? He goes, I want a Mountain Dew. I want a Mountain Dew.
Of course.
And I got one in my backpack. Get it. I'm like, all right, dude, we'll give you the Mountain Dew at the hospital. So, of course, the surgeon says, yeah, if you didn't put the tourniquet on him, that dude would have bled out in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So yet another guy that, hey, you know what? We stopped. So crime scene takes me back through the scene. And they go, where exactly was he when you took your last 2 shots? I'm like, he was right here, right at the corner. And I saw him go down. We found the gun right there. He goes, all right. He was standing up when he shot. I'm like, yeah. He goes, look. And there's a shot like here and a shot directly behind what would be his head. I'm like, that dude matrixed like 240 cals. It's like every beer's a victory beer for that guy.
Yeah.
But it's later, it had so scared the crap out of him. Those bing, bing, bullets hitting like an inch from his head.
Yeah.
That's what caused him to drop the gun. And Owen and I, we were abused for months. 2 SWAT guys. Awesome. Great job. Fantastic. I said, so when Owen and I, you know, my battle buddy now, when we talked about it after the fact, I go, hey, we got him to drop that gun. If he had not dropped that gun, that would have been a different outcome. And, you know, maybe we wouldn't be so lucky.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and those guys also know it was a really hard shot, which makes it even better to tease you about because you have to go try to explain that, and then now you're defending yourself, and it's even worse.
You know, I said I'm fine with it. We got him to drop the gun, and everybody knew. Oh, if you want to hear a little cop funniness, if there's any funniness that came out of that, so being that Jimmy, my task force guy, negotiator. The best, he's a guy I'm going to recommend to you because he literally has done some things. But he says, hey, Eric, you know, mandatorily, I shot him. So me and the other task force cop end of the squad, we have to mandatorily go to the police psychiatrist. Would you come with us? You fired shots also. I'm like, absolutely, of course. So, you know, we go through the 2-3 hour meeting and, you know, she's leading us through everything and she did a great job. At the very end, one of her SOPs, she points at each one and she goes, before we break, is there any concern, anything anybody wants to say, a concern, we'll address it one-on-one in the group, whatever, but I'm going to go one at a time and you're going to tell me we're good, or I want to talk about something else. Jimmy's last. And she goes, Jimmy? And he does one of these, you know, long breath release. And he goes, I can't get an erection anymore unless I smell gun smoke. He's like, I'm just kidding. She goes, I know you're just kidding, but you're coming back. And we still laugh about that. I mean, that was like, it was the perfect icebreaker on a bad night. And
damn, man, that great stories, brother. I got one. I want to get into your woodworking, and I have one last question that is really popular with the listeners. There's a lot of people who are like, they love the podcast, but they're not cops, or they're in backgrounds, or they're thinking about doing it. The question is, what advice would you get to new people getting to law enforcement now?
When I saw that question on your sheet, I was like, bravo, Steve. Well done. There's not one person that's been a cop for a while that wishes they could have that conversation with themselves way back. Like if you had the way back hot tub time machine and you could have that conversation, like, well, what would you want to tell yourself when you started? So bravo for that question. I think it's a great question. I would tell new police officers, new agents, anybody new in law enforcement, it's a marathon. It's not a race. It's not a 100-yard dash. It's a long career. So take a breath. I think guys now, and I'm sure you see it, Steve, superbly better prepared in some ways than we were way back when we started. I mean, just the technology, the things available,
right,
all of it. They're really outstanding candidates at a gate. But what I would tell new people, and it was the same thing I would tell new detectives when I was in Brooklyn, new agents, you know, when I was running the task force, I would be like, listen, just be quiet. You know, it's not that we don't want to hear you, but just soak it in, observe, listen. And especially when I was a cop, it's like, I was told, and it's so true, you know, people say don't volunteer for anything. I tell new guys, volunteer for everything. Volunteer for, and most importantly, volunteer for the crap assignments that nobody wants. Oh, you need somebody to direct traffic at a car accident in the rain at 2 o'clock. I'm your guy. I'm your guy. I'm more than glad to do it. How can I help out? I said, you do that enough, the crap assignments, and you execute well, the veteran guys and gals are they're gonna pull you into the important stuff. Why? Because this is the kid that always raises his hand. He gets a job. He does it right the first time. We don't got to baby him.
Absolutely.
And then you start getting invited into the important stuff. And then before you know it, you're running a squad. And you're the guy telling a new guy something like that. Sit back, like what I did when I was in Brooklyn. And I wasn't new, but I was new enough to know that listen to these old guys, these guys that have been on for like 75 years. They could just give a guy a look and the guy's going to give it up in the box. Develop your little toolbox. I said, if you learn nothing, you have to know how to get somebody to tell you something that they don't want to tell you. That's the craft. That's the art form. Some people are good at it. Some people will never get it. And some people are just always get the confession, always get the information, always get the cooperation.
Right.
Why? Is that some kind of luck? No, it's not luck. You got to learn how to develop themes. You got to be able to talk to anybody about anything, anywhere. You just have to develop that skill set. It's a foundational skill set, and you really can only learn it. You got to listen to these old guys and gals. Listen to them. So take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Just don't even say, should I do it, should I not do it? Do it. Your department's not going to do it. They're going to give you 4 hours a year of hands-on, bad guy training. It's always going to be a compliant guy unless somebody puts the fist suit on. If you're serious about your survival, you learn BJJ. Value your firearms training, all that stuff. And I just want to add to that hotel shooting. Running that gun squad, never, ever home. Like my kids would get, Dad, are you going to be home? You're going to be home. I'm like, finally, I would just say, you see the front door? When I come through the front door, that's when I'm home. It might be today. It might be in 3 weeks. I don't know. And there were several times that happened. Yeah, I'm in Florida. I'm out of state. Something happened. So my kid in 4th grade at the time, fourth grade, 3rd grade, and he was going to have a class trip to the zoo. And it was a big deal. They had put out, we want some parent chaperones. He's like, Dad, can you be chaperone? Can you be chaperone in the zoo? And I'm like, you know what, buddy? I don't care what I have going on. I'm going to take that day, you and me at the zoo. It's happening. Well, the zoo trip was the morning after the hotel shooting. I come in the door at like 6:30, and my kid comes bounding down the stairs, and he's like, Dad, you're dressed and ready to go. I had just walked in the door from the shooting. And he goes, we're going to go to the zoo. We're going to go to the zoo, right? And I'm like, you're goddamn right we're going to the zoo today, kid. Yes. I took a selfie with him at the zoo when we got there, and I said, someday I'm going to show you this picture, and you're going to hear what happened the 8 hours, 10 hours before, we took this picture. That's awesome. I'm like, you're damn right we're going to the zoo, kid.
I love it. That's awesome, brother.
I want
to hear about
and just one other thing for the new guys.
Yeah.
you got to be likable and you got to be coachable.
Yeah.
Nothing will destroy your progression if you don't have those two things.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Words of wisdom, brother. Thank you. I'm sure they're going to love it. Now let's hear about
Right
the
on.
woodworking. Totally different. Totally not a book about war stories, not a Netflix deal. You're in the shop and you make beautiful stuff. I got pictures on the screen right now.
Steve, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you blowing up the time on that thing. Both my grandfathers, professional woodworkers, cabinet makers, finishers. My father's father did all the finishes on the doors, the elevator doors at the Empire State Building when it was built. So I kind of had it in the genes, in the blood. I knew I wanted to do it, and I had dabbled in it. And a few times I became ATF's best paid carpenter, like when we were building out a storefront, I did all the construction. We were building out a SWAT van. I did all the interior construction in that. So I always had something going on. But I said, when I take the 300-pound backpack off, this is what I'm doing. And just like an ATF or being a cop, I couldn't wait to get to work every day. I can't wait to get to the shop. I've got a 2-story substantial building that probably looks bigger than the house, but it's a 20-second commute for me every day. I can take care of kids stuff. I can dogs, the lawn, the pool, plus work any hours I want.
It's awesome.
And I just love making stuff. And as you can see, if anybody goes to my Instagram site,
SENDit Woodworking. It's up on the screen, but I'll put a link in the show notes so they can just see it from there.
Yeah, a little play on words. Send it. If you dream it, I can make. I remember when I got my first tattoo, and I'm trying to say what I want, and the tattoo gal goes, "I'll do it in red plaid. I can do anything." And I'm like, I always stuck in my mind. People have come with, can you do this? And just like every $5 prostitute in Brooklyn, I can't bring myself to say no. I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And so anything. You see the board I did for Selly up there.
Yep.
And if you see that double horseshoe, the way I got that job is Brent's wife, school teacher, I made one for her. And then the school superintendent's wife saw it and she says, "Oh, can you make one for my husband?" So got that job that way. And I apologize. I didn't get a chance to talk about Brent. I could do a whole show just on Brent.
Brent's got his own episode. Don't worry about that.
He's fantastic.
He is. Great
I love
dude.
that guy. And I see him a lot. Like some days, every day, some week, does the track coach. He's my daughter's track coach, believe it or not, at the high school in his medical retirement. I love that guy. His wife, she's just, awesome, and their kids. And, whatever help he thinks I gave him and his family, it's like, I always feel like I didn't do enough. I could have done more. Just a good human being. Tough kid, tough guy. Yeah.
Yeah, man. He came on and he we started like this interview. We start with like some your first hot call or whatever, and like his just being on the street in KC was like, damn, it's like a damn war zone. First shift, it's like bloodbath and murder in a park. You,
Kansas City is the Wild West. In Brooklyn, unbridled violence, but controlled violence. Bad guy violence. And pretty much when the cops showed up, unless you just decided you didn't care if you lived or died, you're going to duke it out and shoot it out with the cops. Out here in Kansas City, these gangsters we were after, no value of human life, none, zero, less than zero.
Yeah.
And if you got cash, you're over 21 and not prohibited, you can walk in any gun store and buy as many guns as you want. Every bad guy out here, top quality weaponry, and they are not scared to shoot it out in the least.
Damn, man.
So yeah, super dangerous out here. And the uniform guys, bravo, my hat's off to them every day. They don't have reverse in the car. They got to respond to everything. They got to deal with everything. We pick and choose. So they've got it a lot tougher than, a uniformed police officer anywhere in the country.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if it's a 10-man department or 40,000, it's still dangerous no matter where you are and what you're doing.
Absolutely.
But the woodworking has just been, I love it. It's like, I love building stuff. I did that. I made that. And if you told me, can you do this? I'm like, and execute on it. And then, they tell two friends, and I'm right about in that sweet, busy zone right now. I would always, take on more work. It's like, if I have 10 free minutes in my life, I feel like I should be knitting a sweater. It's like, I can't sit down and do nothing. I always have to have something going on. Yeah. So the wood business has been that really good.
Good for you, man. I love it. So, and the work is phenomenal. Everybody should look at the video just so they can see the pictures of it. But do you have a YouTube channel up yet?
I don't, but that is a goal. So there is a huge woodworker out here that we met by happenstance, Lizzie from House of Timber out here. And she's like the woodworking royalty on Instagram, and she is just making unbelievable projects. And she saw my setup. She's like, oh my God. She goes, I got to help you get a website going, and this is how you do your social media presence and do this, do that.
Yeah.
So,
dude, let me know, brother. I'll blast it out there. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, no. Well, Steve, I will say, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time and letting me speak to you on your program. It's just been an honor, and first podcast I'm ever doing. Boom, you get to claim that.
Yeah, hell yeah. And you got the good gear. I love it, man. Well, it was an honor to have you on. The stories were phenomenal, man. So thank you for taking the time. I think this might be the longest podcast I've ever done, 2.5 hours. So, and I do get people writing me messages like, could you make them longer? I'm like, because everybody gets the Rogan thing now. Like, he does 3 or 4 hours. I'm like, well, not everybody wants to sit down for 3 or 4 hours,
Yeah. I was so appreciative to be here. I'm like, I will stay in this chair as long as you want.
Brother, I appreciate it.
As long as you'll put up with me.
Dude, the stories were fantastic. I love it. So thanks for coming on. I got to do the outro to the show. Can you hang on for just 2 or 3 minutes?
Yeah. Can I disappear for like 3 minutes and I'll be right back?
Absolutely.
Or 2 minutes. Yeah. I'll be right back with you, brother.
All right. Sounds good. The great Eric Immesberger. Man, great stories, great storyteller. Really was a blast to have him on. Thank you for that, sir. Truly appreciate it. This is the time of the show when I thank the Patreon sponsors. If you really love the show, you can do that through the link in the show notes. And there's patrolman, sergeant, lieutenant, captain. If you go sergeant or above, you get a shout out on the show. Who I'm talking about right off the top are the lieutenants, Andy Biggs, the great and powerful Andy Biggs, the great Kyle Roberts, everybody. Michael Roach from Roach Machine. Check him out, AI Solutions there. The great Thomas Connell and his lovely wife, Tracy. Now the sergeants, Adam Alexander, Adam McMahon, Adam Mihal, Ben Peters, Bentley Barnett, Brad Thompson, Brett Lee, Dan Carlson from Burley Boards, great woodworker, check him out on Instagram. Sherry Finch, thank you. Clark Lakoff, Dave Allman, Dennis Carrasquillo, Doug and Kelly Newman, ladies and gentlemen. Dylan Mosher, Elliot Sykes, Gabriel Decknop, the great Gary Steiner, George Cariotis, Greg Gadboy, Jackson Dalton. Thank you, sir. Black Box Safety, check them out. James Rose, Jason Labrie, everybody. Jason Lau, thank you, my good sir. Jessica King, John Jordan, John Shoemaker, everybody. John and Aaron Kate, love you guys. See you at church. Lauren Stimson, the handsome Lane Campbell, Lisa Gano, holding it down at dispatch, the great Marcus Johansson, ladies and gentlemen. Iceman from Motor Cop Chronicles, check out his podcast, the great Nancy Hammond. Paul Maloney, everybody. Raymond Arsenal. Richard Tolles, keep on trucking, brother. Stay safe out there. Sasha McNabb, thank you. Thank you. Sam Conway, everybody. Scott Young, Sean Clifford, Seth Wright, Sheriff Ronald Long, Tammy Walsh, holding down dispatch. Thank you, Tammy. The great Tony Fahey, Zachary Pleat, and the handsome George Tessier. See you at church, brother. Thank you guys so much for all the support and joining the Patreon. I truly appreciate that. But rest assured, the show will remain free so you can hear the men and women of law enforcement and what they have to deal with in their careers. I appreciate you guys. I love you, and I'll see you next week.